Good morning. Good morning, Israel. Welcome to Awakening Israel. This morning I just popped open my Bible looking for Spirit to guide me. Well, got a dog-eared page. It's pretty heavily dog-eared. I thought I was going to read about the war. Yes, it's described in Zechariah. Go read it. It's a short book, maybe 14 chapters. It's got some important stuff that deals with our leadership today. So we're going to go Zechariah chapter 3, and I'm going to try to cover the whole thing. I just glanced over it and I realized it is inspiring and it is positive. And we definitely need that because we are on the brink of World War. We may have World War III within days, maybe even within hours. The United States has launched and landed they landed 4 out of 6 HIMARS missiles on one building. Apparently it was Russian headquarters, and they killed a whole lot of people. Now each HIMARS missile, as I recall, is like $3 million a piece. So that's like $20 million just to take out one building. Russians were able to knock down 2 missiles. There was a breach of security. Some dumbass used a cell phone to call somebody on New Year's Eve, and they got them all killed. The Russians are being very public with this, and you're going to hear a lot more about it. They're saying 67 dead, and it's going to go up as they get into the rubble and discover more bodies, and as many of those wounded pass away from their wounds. They don't make it. So I want to read this to you because I think that this is a very positive thing. So we're just going to cover this morning, and that might be it. If you go to my other channel, the Dr. Kent Show, it's number 18. Excuse me, it's on the 18th Amendment. I highly recommend you watch that. You're going to hear me referring to the Bible quite a bit, mostly because people have no idea how relevant this is and how important it is. They have no idea that we've basically been taken over. Oh, and now I remember what I was trying to get at in the other video. And that is that there's been an identity theft. Not only, there's been a couple of identity thefts. And one of those identity thefts, you look up Soldiers Field, July 3rd, 1933, and you'll see that a few days later they did this ceremony again. It was a big production, that the Jews put on, and you've got a video there, and you've got explanations by Jewish leaders and stuff, tell you why they did it. And I think they basically screwed up. And what I mean by that is they claimed that this was part of their tradition, part of their history, but they overcame it. And that's not true. It wasn't part of Israelite history. It was part of Canaanite history. And they haven't overcome it. So when you look at that thing that happened, remember that there is a subset that occurred when Edom merged in and mixed in with Israel. That happened about 143 BC at the end of 5 years of the Maccabean revolt, the Maccabean Wars. John Hyrcanus prevailed, and he told the Edomites that he'd let them live, provided they got circumcised. Why is it they always go after that? And that they worshipped and they converted to the faith, and that they worshipped the one true God. And so the Edomites got merged in with the mainstream public. And you may think, well, that's not that important. What's the big deal? Well, these Edomites were the descendants of Esau, and Esau took 2 Canaanite women to wife. 2 of them, not 1, but 2 of them. It's in the Bible proper. So we've got good data on that. And he repented of it, and even in tears, but he couldn't bring himself back. And Yahweh said clearly, for you people out there who insist that God is nothing but pure love, Yahweh says, Esau, I hated. He hated him from the get-go. So you need to understand that it's not against God's character to hate. But here we go. I think this is a good chapter. And he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of Yahweh. This is verse 1, chapter 3. And Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And Yahweh said to Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan. Even Yahweh that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed in filthy garments, and stood before the angel. And he answered and spoke to those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, Behold, I have caused your iniquity to pass from you, and I will clothe you with a change of apparel. And I said, Let them set a clean turban upon his head. So they set a clean turban upon his head, and clothed him with garments. And the angel of Yahweh stood by. And the angel of Yahweh protested to Joshua, saying, Thus says Yahweh of hosts, If you walk in my ways, and if you keep my charge, then you shall also judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I will give you places to walk among these that stand by. The angel of Yahweh could refer to Yeshua, the Messiah. Hear now, O Joshua the high priest, you and your fellows that sit before you, for they are men wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant the branch. Branch is all capitalized letters. Verse 9 continues. For behold, the stone that I laid before Joshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the engraving thereof, says Yahweh of hosts. And I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. In that day, says Yahweh of hosts, shall you call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree. We also see the vine and the fig tree in the book of Jonah. Each man will have his own. But what I really loved when I was reading this before I give it to you was, I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. You know, initially I read that as a blessing, but then again, that iniquity of the land might be removed through a very violent act of war, too. In our case, I don't know, I was hoping to stay positive, but it may need to be cauterized. We have become so evil here in our land, in the United States of America. We have tolerated so much horrible stuff that we deserve to be nuked. I think we do. I'm sorry, and I think that's what might be coming. I don't know if I can find it, but I'm going to take a look and see if I can, because I found references to Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 basically in here. It's in the major prophets, not the minor prophets. And that Yahweh will do to the new Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighbors what he did to the old Sodom and Gomorrah. And that bothers me because it's basically a prophecy of nuclear war. And that's what was used back in Sodom and Gomorrah. Yahweh and his angels nuked those places. And we have physical proof of that. So you don't, those folks out there, I know if you're watching this, you probably are a Bible reader. And I hope this helps you quite a bit. We have got some problems. This is an interesting one. And this I have marked in Isaiah. So this is what I come to. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 14. And it shall be as the chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man takes up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. I always call up when I have a question about a particular word, and I have the word they, because I think it should have been then. So I may find a typo someday yet. If I find one, I'm going to be calling it in. Every man turn to his own people and flee everyone into his own land. That hasn't happened yet. I believe that happens when the northern hemisphere gets mostly wiped out from a war and people go back home because there's very few left and they don't know what else to do. So I think that people will be leaving America and going back to their own land, especially those foreigners that are here illegally. I think there will be a lot of people going to different parts of the world. Some will be going to China, some will be going to the continent of Africa. I think that's what it means, but who knows? Maybe it means that people will realize that they're in their homelands as well. I'm going to continue on here. I think I've got a little bit of something to give you. Verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Sounds like civil war. 16, their children shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Sounds like real rape and pillaging. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. So they're going to destroy even pregnant women, even the children. In Babylon, which we live in today, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Might that not be referring to the United States of America, because we have become a Sodom and Gomorrah? As far as the Medes, it's interesting because when the house of Israel decided that they had it for their captivity and they wanted to get free, they joined up with the Medes, and they were supposed to protect Assyria from the Medes. They joined up with the Medes. I think they might have finished off Assyria first, but what they did is the Medes and the Israelites went down and destroyed Babylon. And once Babylon was destroyed, then the Israelites bolted over the Caucasus mountain range, generally speaking in 3 giant waves. And there were millions of them by that time, maybe as many as 30 million, because they had been moved, and Jeremiah told them to build houses, plant vineyards, and to give their sons and daughters and all that. In other words, procreate. So I think that could happen to the United States of America. It is a possibility from this. And of course, some of you will know what is meant by wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant places. There's all kinds of depth and meaning to that. Satyrs, of course, are basically, I guess, nymphomaniacs. Shall dance there. owl shall dwell there. Of course, the owl is a symbol of the ancient goddess Minerva, and it's on every one of our phony dollar bills, the fiat money. All has an owl on the upper right corner, perched up in there. It's symbolic of their money magic and what they're doing to us. There are more references to being treated like Sodom and Gomorrah in here. I'm not going to cover that. I'm going to keep it short today. Maybe that should be my trend from now on. It's not too bad doing 15 minutes, I don't think. Give me some feedback. Like the video, please. Give me some feedback. Go and buy one of my Bibles. Give them to each other. That's going to be a good gift. The prices are pretty reasonable, anywhere from $39.77 to $57.77. $57.77, you get large print black leatherette with tabs. And for $47.77, you get regular print brown with tabs. And so if you're giving Bibles to people, you might want to give them with tabs if they're not used to the Bible. That would be my suggestion. If you know the Bible rather well, then don't spend the extra money on getting tabs. Matter of fact, our regular print brown is only $39.77, and your tabs jack your price up by $8 on the regular print. On large print, it only jacks your price up by $5. So I don't have a tab Bible. And I have large print brown. Prices have gone up a little bit, not very much. I think it's gone up by about $4 from when I bought my own 3 years ago. The binding's holding up good. I can testify to that. This is the only way to support me, and I do believe that these Bibles are worth double what you're paying for them. Pretty much precisely double. I think even the Schofield Reference Study Bible in leather is going to be, well, it used to be $115, a little over that 10 years ago, so it's probably, $150 today. Of course, that is the Bible of the enemy that sought to take us over through our big box churches, and they've done a good job. They really have done a good job. All right, that's it for me for today. If you've got a topic you want me to cover, or there's a particular passage that's speaking to you, then bring it to my attention. I mean, I do want to get this dialogue going, because that's what I really like. I love and enjoy. There's nothing more I love than talk about the truth, the real truth that's in the Bible. And remember this, the Bible speaks to us and says love, truth, and justice in that order. So in order for there to be justice, you have to know the truth. And the truth is just starting to come to light. It's going to be a real wild and bumpy ride this year. We've got the usurper in power. We've got a Chi-Com agent in the White House. And most of our Congress is bought off. We got the finest congressman money can buy, as Mark Twain said, and the Chi-Coms are the one buying. So they own us today. Don't kid yourselves. We can straighten this out. I mean, if I was president, the first thing I'd do would be shut down that income tax and start the tariffs and duties at the border. And I'd restore, I don't know how I would do it, but I would monetize labor again, so a man could be rewarded all the time properly. But I would have to give you an honest money. And I think that we would have to go right to silver, because the old wages where you got a silver dollar for the day, even in the Old West, you got that silver dollar at the end of the day. That had some value to it. Today, that silver dollar's got value to it. It could be worth $50, but what was a man's labor worth back then? The silver dollar? Okay, what is it worth today? What are we getting? $200? $300? $500 a day? So silver is truly undervalued. It should be coming up, and I think a reasonable value for silver would be, if a journeyman was making $40 a day, $240 a day, and that was probably 50 years ago, I would say that the journeyman today's wages should be double, so the ounce of silver should be about $500-600 if we value it that way. Adolf Hitler was able to bring his country around by monetizing labor, basically, and creating 6 million jobs. And he put on a wonderful social program, which the ladies loved because it meant they got to stay at home and take care of their kids. And they actually provided greatly for the people, because with each child, the couple, the family, was rewarded with 25% forgiveness on their mortgage. So imagine that. If you had an economic stimulus program, and there's no greater stimulus program than to have children, but just imagine if the government gave you the mortgage and you're making payment, and the next thing you know, you have a child, and as a reward for having a child, you are given 1/4 of your debt off. And then the next child, another quarter of your debt, half of it's gone. And then the next child, 3/4 of it's off. Wow. And then on the next child, it's all gone. I don't know how they did that. I don't know if they did it on the mortgage as a whole and kept the payments the same, or if they did it on the mortgage price at the time so they had more money in the house. I just don't know. But I do know this, that the women adored and loved that man for a reason. And in case you're wondering, they've lambasted the German people horribly. They talk about the book burnings, and of course they call them Nazis, which is a derogatory, racist, slur, basically, and it should not be used, in my opinion. But the book burnings of the Nazis, if you will, since people are used to that, what were the first books that they burned? I mean, oh my God, they're burning books. Must have been burning Bibles, right? Oh, no. They didn't burn Bibles. They burned books in Berlin of a physician that had been publishing since the early part of the century. And when they burned those books, the first ones they grabbed were the medical books. And they, I didn't know this, but a lot of the terms that we use today, like homosexuality, was invented in Berlin. So basically, the Fuhrer was able to put the genie back in the bottle. So all of that filth was cleaned up rather quickly, and they had wholesome families, and the women loved that. I don't know what you ladies really want and what you really think you want to do, but I mean, you want to be in the streets? Is that the kind of life you want? Or would you like to be at home, cared for, protected, sheltered, and free to raise your children, and take care of your husband, and take care of yourself, manage a household? I mean, there's a lot of work to that. I don't think there's a more important job than rearing children, but you do need the father. You do need husbands to do that properly. You can't do it because your attachment is so automatic and it's so natural, and you can't overcome it. And there's good reason for that. That's the way Creator did it. That you need the father in order to civilize and raise the child properly. If you want to avoid rearing criminals, you've got to have fathers. You've got to have good fathers, fathers that pay attention. Not fathers that neglect their children because the mother's at home doing the rearing, and they are, that separation is just a little too much. But if we could go back to the point where men work at home and we're always there, like happened back in the 1800s, men and women were together on the on the land, on the farm, on the homestead. I mean, they were there together. So if there was a problem with kids, Dad was there. There was no neglect back then. You got instant feedback, instant karma, punished immediately. Mom always had backing. Mother and father were a team and worked as a team. It's not the way it works today. You women want to dominate, and you can't do the job by yourself. Don't get me wrong. I admire some of you. I listen to what you do, and I'm like, wow, sounds good. Sounds good, but I also listen and I can hear the anxiety and realize, man, she's not made to do this. This is not what she should be doing. But, you've got fathers that don't care to be involved in their kids' lives, which is horrible. However, your courts are so biased. A man cannot get justice in those courts. I tell a man, do not get married. Don't even cohabitate. Just leave them alone. Because it used to be you got married before God, and you put your marriage in the Bible, and this was your marriage license and your legal document admissible to any court. Till about World War II, when the state got too big for its pants. And as a result, they decided to give us licenses so the state could get involved and meddle. No. The state can only destroy. They can only rob us and destroy. They cannot give us our rights, and they cannot give us the blessings that Yahweh gives us. So, folks, Yahweh bless. May He restore the republic. Let's pray the next few days. Let's turn to Yahweh. Let's call upon His name. Get these Bibles out there. Everybody needs to know the name of Yahweh. It does say clearly in here that there will come a time in which nobody's going to say, know the Lord, because everybody's going to know the Lord. And I don't think we're very far from that. We do have devils amongst us that we must deal with. And we will do that. We have to deal with them. And if we don't administer justice, we're screwed. And if we're not willing to listen to the truth because it offends us, we're screwed. Political correctness is in the two biggest prophets in here, Jeremiah and Isaiah. It's described, the psychological dynamics are described in here. So that always precedes going into bondage. And we are in bondage. They haven't picked us up and moved us. They brought a foreign jurisdiction here and superimposed it. So that's why they've got away with it, because you can't see it. You think you're the baddest asses on the planet, the freest and the bravest and all that. If you're not willing to take control of your own government, if you're not willing to enforce your own laws, there's a problem. The Israelites complained and prayed to Yahweh, and Yahweh sent them judges. Maybe that's what you and I should be praying for, our judges. Wow. Do you know what the establishment's going to call them? Horrible things. But I'll tell you what the people will call them. Heroes. Yahweh bless. May America bless Yahweh. May America be good once again. Become good once again.